This show, man. This fucking show. Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Raw tonight, of course, was from the Amway Center in Orlando. This show sucked tonight. This show was absolute shit. This was Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Clash of Champions, which is this Sunday. And let me ask you guys, did you all remember that there's a pay-per-view this Sunday? Probably you all didn't remember. Yes, there is a pay-per-view this Sunday, and it's called Clash of Champions. But what a great build that WWE is building to Clash of Champions. Yeah, sarcastic there. But my God, this show was fucking terrible tonight. God awful. God awful 3 hours. So I'm going to jump right into the review. Going to hopefully make this review short. Not a long one because this show tonight does not even deserve a long review. So we had Retribution come out to start off Monday Night Raw. Retribution came out. Tom Phillips was back on commentary. And he ended up mentioning that Retribution now has WWE contracts. So we end up seeing Retribution there. The ones that were in the ring, they didn't have their, they weren't dressed in black. We clearly saw their eyes. We saw Mia Yim, of course, part of Retribution. There's Dominik Dijakovic, Mercedes Martinez, and Dio Madden were the ones in the ring. Mia Yim ended up getting on the mic, and she ended up saying that management thinks they're safe because they gave them contracts. And she ended up going on about how money won't change anything, and they're done being stepped on to get some imaginary brass ring. And so then Dominik Dijakovic ended up speaking, and Dominik Dijakovic, what the hell was he wearing? He is known as T-Bar. That's what they called him earlier in the night because Retribution was in the main event and they ended up taking on the Hurt Business. They ended up taking on Cedric Alexander and also Bobby Lashley. And was I watching with Dominik Dijakovic and his mask? Was I watching WWE or The Dark Knight Rises? Because Dijakovic, the mask that he was wearing, looks exactly like Bane. I'm like, when I saw him, I was waiting for Batman to come out. Where was Batman during the show tonight? Come on. They give him T-Bar, the most generic name. Why are you changing Dijakovic's name for? So he ended up speaking and he ended up going on about how they're going to train the lifeblood of WWE. Mercedes Martinez and Dio Madden also were in the ring. Dijakovic, or T-Bar, or Bane, T-Bar, T-Balls, Bane, whatever you want to call him, said that Retribution will make your pain for your sins. So we saw the Hurt Business end up coming out. We had MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Bobby Lashley. So the Hurt Business end up coming to the ring. Retribution end up retreating out to the floor. MVP got on the mic, and he ended up saying that Retribution has no heart when the realness shows up. MVP ended up saying that he figured that once these hoes, as he would call them, got their contracts, they'd stop running their mouths. So MVP ended up offering Retribution the opportunity to get on the business end of some hurt. So Lashley was threatening to beat down on Retribution. Then we had more members of Retribution surround the ring. The Hurt Business was being outnumbered, and Retribution ended up attacking the Hurt Business, but the Hurt Business ended up fighting them off. And we had Dijakovic, T-Bar, T-Balls, Bane, like I said, whatever you want to call him, and Dio Madden. They end up slamming Lashley down with the double choke slam, and that was that. But, man, Retribution, seeing them here tonight with their new look, I'm like, they are dead on arrival. They are seriously dead on arrival. Awful. God awful. So then we had a number one contenders triple threat match. Andrade and Angel Garza versus Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy versus Humberto Carrillo and Dominik Mysterio. So before the match got underway, the Street Profits ended up coming out. They were on commentary here. And the winners of this triple threat will face the Street Profits at Clash of Champions for the Raw Tag Team Championship. And this was a okay triple threat here. It's back and forth between all these guys. And Dominik, of course, continues to impress here. But Andrade and Angel Garza end up getting the win. Garza ended up hitting the win clipper to Buddy Murphy. And also when Andrade and Garza came out, of course, no sign of Zelina Vega. So Andrade and Angel Garza came out on their own. So Andrade and Garza end up winning. They get to face the Street Profits this Sunday at Clash of Champions for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Overall, okay match. So then we had more of Retribution backstage. Dijakovic ended up speaking. He ended up saying that the Hurt Business could have been a part of the solution. And he said, but once again, they bend their knee to WWE's demands and that they are part of the problem. He said, while others wait out in the cold for an opportunity. So he ended up going on and saying that the Hurt Business lines their pockets with money to pay for the $1,000 suits. So he ended up saying that the Hurt Business didn't ask for this opportunity out of hate or anger, and that they only asked for it out of greed. He ended up saying that their payment will not come in the form of money, and that it will come in the form of a match against us. And Dijakovic ended up saying that we will pay you in retribution. So that was that. We had the Kevin Owens show with Kevin Owens in there. Kevin Owens was talking jokes about Aleister Black. He ended up saying that tonight's guest is someone he would not have seen himself getting together with a few months ago. So he ended up introducing Shane McMahon, the Raw Failure Ground boss. So I'm like, Kevin Owens ends up inviting Shane McMahon on there when they had, a feud together. Shane and Kevin Owens had, their feud not too long ago. So they end up joking about their history. Owens ended up talking about Shane being a master promoter and tells him to do what he came to do. And so Shane ends up hyping up the Battle of the Behemoths between Braun Strowman and Dabba-Kato later on in the night on Raw Failure Ground. And, pretty much, basically, you had Dabba-Kato and Braun Strowman in there. So we had Aleister Black end up attacking Kevin Owens from the floor, and he ended up pulling him into the ring post. Black ended up yanking Kevin Owens out to the floor. And pretty much that was basically that, though. Don't want to go into the whole segment because I don't care. I didn't care about Braun Strowman versus Dabba-Kato on Raw Fairground. So then we had Charlie Caruso interviewing Drew McIntyre backstage. McIntyre ended up saying to Charlie Caruso that he is not worried about competing with a fractured jaw. So Caruso ended up asking McIntyre about his friend Keith Lee. McIntyre ended up saying about how there's no point in being in WWE if you're not here for the WWE Championship. McIntyre ended up saying that he's sure he and Keith Lee will be laughing about everything over drinks later on. But for now, they're going to beat the hell out of each other. And so McIntyre ends up saying that Keith Lee, that ends up telling Keith Lee that the drinks will be on him and that he's going to beat the hell out of him. And so that was that. More attacks from Retribution end up being done. They end up attacking Titus O'Neil, Humberto Carrillo. Dijakovic end up addressing the camera again, end up saying that they are being put down by the judge, jury, and executioners. So we went back to the commentary table, and they announced that the Hurt Business versus Retribution was for later tonight. So we had that. And I forgot to mention on commentary, Jerry Lawler was back on commentary tonight for Monday Night Raw, replacing Samoa Joe, which Samoa Joe is still out. We had McIntyre versus Keith Lee, of course, once again. So, did we get an actual winner for this match? No, we didn't. We had Randy Orton hit the ring, delivered a chair shot to McIntyre, which caused a disqualification. Orton ended up hitting McIntyre with another chair shot to his back. And then Orton ended up driving the edge of the chair down to McIntyre's hurt jaw, his fractured jaw. Orton ended up tossing the chair. And Orton then delivered the punk kick to Keith Lee. And that was that. Then when Monday Night Raw came back, we had Orton get on the mic, and he ended up shaming everyone for doubting him and his status for Clash of Champions. He ended up saying that he's been in the company for 20 years. He ended up going on to say that the one consistent in those 20 years has been him. He ended up saying that he's never walked away from a world title match and doesn't plan to anytime soon. Orton went on about how the WWE Championship match at Clash of Champions is different. So Orton then walked out of the ring, and there was an ambulance parked near the stage. And Orton ended up going on about how he's taken out several legends with kicks to the skull. He ended up saying that he woke up in the back of the ambulance with a smile on his face because he remembered exactly what he was capable of. Orton ended up saying that this ambulance represents his 14th world title. So he ended up telling McIntyre to listen up because at Clash of Champions, he will make sure McIntyre takes one more ride in the ambulance and make sure his title reign flatlines. And Orton says it's all courtesy of the three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment. RKO. So that was that, but Orton ended up cutting a pretty decent promo here. Then we had a number one contenders match, Zelina Vega versus Mickie James. The winner of this match will get to face Asuka at Clash of Champions. And this match itself, it was boring. It was a terrible match. Zelina Vega end up getting the win. Vega end up hitting the backstabber to Mickie James. Now that Zelina Vega end up winning. Now she gets to face Asuka at Clash of Champions. So, and then after the match, the commentators end up confirming that Zelina Vega versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship is going to be on the Clash of Champions pre-show on the kickoff. So there you go. So we had the Hurt Business backstage fighting off Retribution. So we had that. Then we saw a new vignette for Bianca Belair, where it ended up showing her, training in the gym with trainees. And I'm like, why isn't she on TV? Is WWE still booking her on Main Event? Get her on Monday Night Raw. I can't remember when was the last time we saw Bianca Belair on Monday Night Raw. So then we saw footage that was filmed earlier in the day where it featured Akira Tozawa and a member of his Foot Clan that was dressed as a referee. And they were at the beach and they were waiting for the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 champion, R-Truth, to show up. And Tozawa and a member of his Foot Clan were playing in the surf. And R-Truth ended up showing up. Truth, Little Jimmy, as what R-Truth says, Little Jimmy ended up learning truth about a shark that was in the water. And the segment ended where it was left of Tozawa's gear. So apparently there was a shark attack. Truth got the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 championship belt back. It was awful. It was god-awful. Cedric Alexander versus Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews ended up winning. Ricochet was distracting Cedric. Cedric went back inside the ring. Apollo Crews ended up taking advantage of the distraction by Ricochet to Cedric. And Apollo Crews ended up rolling Cedric up for the win. So there you go. Apollo Crews ended up winning. Post-match, you had the Hurt Business end up taking out Ricochet and Apollo Crews on the ramp. Lashley then ended up locking in the Hurt Lock on Apollo Crews. Lashley was ragdolling Apollo Crews, still locked in the Hurt Lock. MVP ended up saying that there's more coming of that on Sunday. So then it was confirmed that it's going to be Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley at Clash of Champions. Then we had Raw Failure Ground. Dolph Ziggler was fighting. Who cares? Who cares about Raw Failure Ground? I'm like, why is Raw Failure Ground still a thing? Why? I cannot wait for this to be off WWE television. It adds nothing to the show. And you wonder why the third hour of Monday Night Raw gets low ratings. They get a 1.4, 1.3, 1.5. You wonder why. Nobody wants to see Raw Failure Ground. I don't know why this is still a thing. So then we had Seth Rollins come out. Seth Rollins had a large envelope in his hand, and he ended up sending out the Mysterio family. So the Mysterio family ended up coming out. Rollins ended up saying that he's truly learned to respect the family and that he's inspired by them for staying together. And he ended up calling it a beautiful thing. And he ended up saying that's why they deserve the truth. So Rollins ended up saying that he has the results of a DNA test in the folder. Hello, WWE Creative? Yes, Maury called. He says he wants his talk show back. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Seth Rollins being Maury Povich with the DNA tests. So this is WWE also rehashing the storyline that they did with Rey Mysterio in 2005. Remember when Rey and Eddie were having their rivalry in the summertime in 2005, and then Eddie went to Seth to Dominik and said, "I'm your papi." What are we rehashing this again? It's like WWE is bankrupt with ideas, and they got to rehash something that they already did. So Seth Rollins says he knows this has been done before. This has been done before, but times have changed, and DNA technology has come a long way since then. He ended up saying that we need the answer to if Rey is really Dominik's father. Rey ended up telling Rollins to cut the BS. So Rollins ended up saying that the fans and the family deserve the truth. So he ended up saying that the DNA test results are conclusive and that Rey is not the father of Dominik. Oh, well, thank you, Maury. Thank you, Seth Povich. So Rollins was laughing. Rey ended up saying that Seth really bought them out here for that. So Rey ended up saying that this didn't work before and it won't work now. He tells Rollins to quit running his family's name through the mud. Rollins ended up saying that maybe he did make a mistake. He asked his guy to look into the Mysterio kid, but he ended up saying that maybe it's Aaliyah who is not Rey's daughter. So Rollins ended up saying that if the test isn't enough, he's got some concrete footage to back it up. So Rey ended up telling Rollins to keep his daughter's name out of his mouth. And she ended up saying that, Rey ended up saying that her daughter Aaliyah is just 19 years old and knows nothing about their world. So Rey ended up turning and looks at Aaliyah. Aaliyah then ended up walking off to the back. His wife, Angie, ended up following. And then it was just Dominik and Rey just there. Rey then left to the back. Dominik was looking at Rollins. And Dominik ended up following. And then Rollins ended up saying that he's sorry and that he just came out here to inform. That he didn't come out here to drive a wedge in the family. And he ended up saying he guesses that happens sometimes. He even said, even a family as strong as the Mysterios. So Rollins then ended up looking at the camera. He ended up saying that he's sure this has probably even happened to some of, other families. He ended up saying that he's sorry again. And then he ended up putting the mic down. Rollins was on the ramp. And then we see a little smirk come on Seth Rollins' face. Meaning, he did it. He did something to trigger the Mysterio family. So, and that was that. But Rollins acting like Maury here. And I was like in this segment, am I watching Monday Night Raw or am I watching Maury? With the DNA tests. Then we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Lana. Garbage. We had Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan on commentary during this match. Baszler ended up locking in the cure through the clutch on Lana. And that was that. Baszler and Nia Jax end up winning. Post-match, you had Nia Jax end up shoving Liv Morgan down. Baszler ended up dropping Ruby Riott against the barricade. So we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler double team the Riott Squad. Baszler ended up clearing off the announce table. And then we had Nia Jax end up delivering the Samoan drop to Lana through the announce table. And I'm like, here you go once again. Lana being dropped through the announce table. Happened last week, happened this week. This is all because Miro, her husband, Miro, is in AEW. So this is WWE punishing Lana because of Miro in AEW, aka Rusev, her husband. There you go. Expect more punish. I expect WWE to punish Lana even more. More Raw Fair Ground. So, don't even care. We had Eric of the Viking Raiders versus Riddick Moss. Then we had Asuka versus Peyton Royce. Asuka ended up winning. Zelina Vega ended up coming out, attacking Asuka, which caused a disqualification. Then we had Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah backstage. Murphy ended up apologizing and says this whole thing with Seth Rollins has gone too far and has gone out of hand. Murphy ended up saying that if he's done anything to hurt her, he will be sorry. That was that. So little relationship here with Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah. You know, we saw it last week. Probably going to be going somewhere. Raw Fairground, Dabba-Kato versus Braun Strowman, don't care. We had Braun Strowman win it. Shane ended up saying that he can't wait until Raw Fairground next week. I cannot wait until Raw Fairground is off WWE television. How about that? Raw Fairground, like I said, adds nothing to this show in the third hour. Then we had the main event, Retribution versus the Hurt Business. So we had we had the Retribution names. We had Slapjack, I think it's Shane Thorne. Yes, some generic names for Retribution. Slapjack, I think it was Shane Thorne. Mace was Dio Madden. T-Bar, of course, like I said, Dijakovic. T-Bar, T-Balls, or Bane, whatever you want to call Dijakovic here. I can't believe it. I can't freaking believe it. Dijakovic, when you watch him in NXT, he was awesome. He was good in the ring. And now you change up his name. He didn't even need a name change. But this match, God, awful. Hurt Business ended up winning by disqualification because we had Dijakovic T-Bar. He ends up breaking up the Hurt Lock that Lashley ended up applying to Slapjack. So that was that. We had Retribution, more members of Retribution come out. They end up being down the Hurt Business. And then out came McIntyre along with Andrade, Garza, Humberto Carrillo, the Street Profits, Titus O'Neil. And we had a brawl that spilled out. Randy Orton was in the ring. He came out of nowhere. And McIntyre ended up turning around. And Orton ended up laying McIntyre out with the RKO. And that was that. That was Monday Night Raw tonight. But man, this show sucks. This show was absolutely awful. Terrible go-home show. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later. Oh, and by the way, I uploaded a commercial break, Nick at Night commercial break earlier today. So for all you guys who love when I upload commercials, old school commercials, definitely go check out that video. It's from 1997, those commercials. So, Until next video, I'll see you all later.